if we didn't want to rely on the government or communication for us to decide which of multiple equilibria to choose in one of these coordination games, we could use another method. Psychologists have come up with this idea of a focal point as some sort of cue from outside the game that suggests a particular choice that could lead to us all coordinating on a particular equilibrium. So as an example, you're in business, you meet a Japanese businessman. Perhaps you know that in Japan it is much more common when you're meeting somebody in a business setting to bow to them. Now that's unusual in America, right? We would typically expect to shake someone's hand. So imagine you meet a Japanese businessman for the first time. We could have two different outcomes in which we coordinate, that is, in which we both do the same thing and hence are both happy with the outcome. We could go to shake their hand while they go to shake our hand. That's an equilibrium. Neither of us wants to switch away from that because then we end up in a situation where we are not coordinating and we are worse off. Similarly, if we each bowed to one another, then we each get a good outcome where we've chosen the same thing as our compatriot, and we are both better off by continuing to bow rather than by switching to shaking hands, because then we fail to match and we have an embarrassing situation. Now you might look at this and go, well, how do we decide which of those is going to happen? If we couldn't, for example, communicate, we couldn't talk in advance and decide what's going to happen, and we've got no government mandate saying, for example, that we have to shake hands or we have to bow. One way in which this is resolved in the real world is to use a focal point. And a common focal point to use in this situation is the idea of which country you're in. If you meet someone in America, you would expect to shake their hands as a greeting. On the other hand, if you met someone in Japan, it would be sensible to choose to bow because they would likely expect you to be bowing if you were in Japan. Even if, for example, we were both Americans, it might be normal to each bow to one another in Japan, where that is the expectation, if you like.